Do you ever feel like your mind is a constant whirlwind of thoughts, never giving you a moment of peace? It's exhausting, isn't it? You've tried everything: meditation apps, self-help books, maybe even a yoga class or two, but that inner calm seems just out of reach. Here's the hard truth that no one tells you: your mind, by its very nature, is chaotic, and trying to control it is like trying to catch the wind. But what if I told you that you don't need to control your mind to find peace? What if, in the middle of all that noise, you could tap into a quiet, unshakable presence that's already inside you? This isn't some wishful thinking. The solution is not about silencing the mind or running away from your thoughts. It's about shifting your perspective. The peace you're looking for isn't in the absence of chaos, but in learning how to be at peace with the chaos. Most people spend their lives fighting their minds, believing the lie that they need to fix themselves before they can be happy. But what if I told you that the real path to inner peace begins with acceptance, not control? It's a radical idea, but it's one that leads to the kind of freedom few ever experience. Curious? Let's dive deeper. The mind is like the wind. One moment it's calm, the next it's a storm. Thoughts rush in, feelings arise, and identities shift from one form to another. People often try to grasp onto these thoughts, seeking stability in something that is, by its very nature, unstable. But how can one find peace in something that's constantly moving? It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips away no matter how tight you cling. What many don't realize is that this constant fluctuation is not where true peace lies. The mind, like a passing cloud, will never be the sky. You see, trusting the mind as your source of identity is a recipe for confusion. One day you're happy, the next you're anxious. Today you feel like you're on top of the world. Tomorrow, you question your worth. This is the roller coaster of duality that people get trapped in. But here's the thing: it's not your fault. Society teaches us to rely on our thoughts, to make them the foundation of who we are. But there's a deeper reality beyond the surface, one that isn't shaken by the winds of the mind. Imagine this: you're watching a movie. There's drama, excitement, maybe even heartbreak. But at the end of the day, you're just the viewer, you're not the movie itself. In the same way, your mind is just a film reel playing scenes of life. You can observe it without becoming entangled in the storyline. This shift from being in the movie to being the audience is where true liberation begins. Meditation and self-inquiry are like stepping back from the screen to realize the mind is just that, a show. And this awareness is crucial for anyone seeking truth, love, and peace. Until one recognizes that the mind's instability is a part of its nature, they'll keep searching for fulfillment in something that cannot provide it. But once you stop trying to control or fix the mind, you open the door to something far more profound, a glimpse of your eternal self, which has always been here, quietly observing. And this is just the beginning. While the mind shifts like waves in the ocean, there is something deeper, untouched by these changes: the true self. This self, unlike the mind, is stable, eternal, and beyond the reach of time. Imagine it as the calm ocean floor, unaffected by the stormy surface. This true self is not defined by thoughts, emotions, or even the physical body. It is pure awareness, always present and quietly witnessing everything. Many people spend their lives searching for this in external things, achievements, relationships, material success, but what they seek has always been within. You might think that knowing this makes it easy, but the challenge is learning to identify with the self, not the mind. We are so conditioned to think we are our thoughts, our job titles, or our past experiences. But these are just labels the mind creates. The truth is, you are the consciousness behind all of that. When you begin to recognize the unchanging nature of your true self, something shifts. It's like realizing you are the sky, not the weather passing through it. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Have there been times when you felt completely lost in your thoughts, only to realize later that there was a deeper part of you that was never truly disturbed? That's the glimpse of your eternal self, the part of you that remains peaceful and undisturbed no matter what's happening on the surface. Practices like meditation and self-inquiry can help you tune into this unchanging presence, allowing you to live from a place of deep peace and clarity. When you begin to see life from this perspective, everything changes. You no longer chase fleeting desires or get caught up in the drama of everyday life. Instead, you witness it from the space of your true self. This is where awakening begins, as the mind becomes less dominant and the presence of your eternal nature shines through. But how do we get there? That's the journey of spiritual growth, one that requires letting go of desires and attachments. Desires are tricky things. They promise happiness, yet often deliver the opposite: attachment, anxiety, and suffering. Think about it. How many times have you chased after something, believing it would bring you lasting peace, only to find that once you got it, the feeling was temporary? That's because desires are like mirages. They pull you in with the illusion of satisfaction, but once you arrive, the peace slips away. True contentment, as many spiritual seekers have discovered, comes not from fulfilling desires, but from letting them go. The process of letting go, however, is not about rejecting life or giving up on everything. It's about recognizing that attachment to desires keeps you trapped in duality, constantly swinging between pleasure and pain. The ego, which is driven by desires, tells you that if you just get this or achieve that, you'll be happy. But the wise understand that the satisfaction of one desire only gives birth to another. It's like trying to fill a bottomless cup. By practicing meditation and mindfulness, you can start noticing how desires arise and fade without attaching your happiness to them. Letting go doesn't mean you stop wanting things in life altogether. It means you stop needing them for your happiness. You can still enjoy the experiences, relationships, and opportunities that life offers, but you approach them from a place of inner peace rather than craving. A practical way to start letting go of desires is to begin with small things. Notice how attached you are to minor comforts like checking your phone or needing approval from others. Then, practice releasing that need little by little. It's liberating to discover that your peace doesn't depend on those things. Ultimately, letting go of desires is an act of surrender to the divine flow of life. When you release the grip of attachment, you make space for something far greater to emerge, an inner freedom, a sense of liberation that can only be found when you stop chasing and start being. And as you step into this freedom, you'll begin to see the mind for what it really is, a tool, not a master. That leads us to the next step, becoming the witness of the mind. The key to true peace lies not in controlling the mind, but in witnessing it. Most people think they need to silence their thoughts to find peace, but the mind isn't something that can be tamed by force. It's like trying to calm a storm by shouting at the wind. Instead, peace comes when you take a step back and simply observe the mind. Imagine you're watching a river flow by. You don't try to stop the water, you just sit on the riverbank and watch it pass. The same goes for your thoughts. By observing without attachment, you create space for peace to arise naturally. The trick is not to get caught up in the content of your thoughts. Whether your mind is filled with worries, fantasies, or random memories, none of it is who you really are. The mind is like a chatterbox that loves to throw distractions your way, but it loses its power the moment you become the witness rather than the participant. This shift from identification with the mind to witnessing the mind is where true liberation begins. Meditation is an excellent tool for practicing this awareness. When you sit in meditation, you notice your thoughts arise, but instead of reacting to them, you let them come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you're overwhelmed by emotions or thoughts, instead of trying to control them, take a deep breath and just observe. Label what's happening. This is a thought, or this is a feeling. This simple act of witnessing creates a gap between you and the mind, giving you the power to stay grounded in your true self, no matter how chaotic the mental activity becomes. It's like becoming the eye of the storm, calm and undisturbed, while the winds of the mind whirl around you. By becoming the witness, you are no longer a victim of the mind's instability. You move from a place of reaction to a place of presence. And in this presence, you start to realize something profound. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear and disappear. This realization leads to a deeper understanding of awakening, where the mind no longer holds the same power over your sense of self. But what does this awakening truly mean? Let's explore that next. Awakening isn't something that comes through the mind or through intellectual understanding. It's a direct experience of the unchanging, peaceful nature within. Many seekers believe that enlightenment is something to be achieved through effort, study, or spiritual practices, but the truth is that it's not about accumulation, it's about realization. Awakening is simply recognizing what has always been there, the quiet, eternal self beneath the surface of the ever-changing mind. It's like looking for your glasses while they're already on your face. The discovery is that you've always had what you're seeking. This realization doesn't come from the mind because the mind is rooted in duality, always comparing, analyzing, and defining. True awakening transcends these limitations. It's a sudden shift where the seeker becomes aware that the search itself was unnecessary. You don't have to become something new, you only need to remember who you are. And this remembrance isn't an intellectual process, it's a direct experience of being. Practices like meditation, self-inquiry, and contemplation serve to quiet the noise of the mind so that this inner recognition can arise naturally. Imagine a moment of deep silence where, just for a second, all your thoughts fade away. In that moment, there is stillness, peace, and a profound sense of presence. That's a glimpse of the awakened state, the recognition that beneath all the layers of thought and ego, you are that peaceful awareness. Awakening is not something that can be forced. It comes when you stop trying to manipulate or change your experience and instead surrender to what is. It's a state of profound freedom because you realize that nothing in the external world can ever disturb the true peace that lies within. But spiritual understanding doesn't end with awakening. It's an ongoing journey of living from that place of peace and awareness. The mind will still try to pull you back into duality, into desires, fears, and attachments. This is where the importance of spiritual growth comes in, staying committed to the path, continuing to inquire into the nature of reality, and allowing life itself to be your greatest teacher. And that's where we'll go next, understanding the role of continuous self-inquiry and observation in spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is not a destination, it's a continuous, unfolding journey. As one awakens to the truth of their eternal self, the work doesn't stop. In fact, this is where the real growth begins. Self-realization is like planting a seed, and spiritual growth is the process of nurturing it. Just as a tree needs water, sunlight, and time to grow, your spiritual practice requires patience, dedication, and consistent self-inquiry. This growth transforms your life into a harmonious experience, where inner peace becomes the foundation of everything you do. The key to this transformation is staying committed to observing yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, your desires, without judgment. Self-inquiry is not about fixing or improving, it's about discovering the deeper truth behind your experiences. Every moment becomes an opportunity for growth. For instance, the next time you feel anger or frustration, instead of reacting, pause and ask yourself, who is feeling this? Who am I beyond this feeling? This simple question can pull you out of the ego's grip and reconnect you with the deeper awareness that is always at peace. Continuous self-inquiry doesn't mean isolating yourself or retreating from life's challenges. On the contrary, it means engaging with life fully, but from a place of presence and awareness. The more you observe your mind, the more you realize that it has no power over your true self. Over time, this observation becomes effortless, and your spiritual understanding deepens. You begin to see that life, with all its ups and downs, is the perfect playground for your spiritual evolution. Everything you experience is a teacher, guiding you back to your true nature. Ultimately, spiritual growth is about living in alignment with the truth of who you are. It's about embodying the awareness, peace, and freedom that come from knowing your true self. As you grow spiritually, life becomes less about external achievement and more about inner liberation. You stop searching for happiness in the world outside and realize that you are already free, already whole, already complete. And this brings us full circle to the understanding that your mind, while useful, is not your master. You are the presence behind it. The more you grow, the clearer this becomes. Now that you've uncovered the truth about the chaotic nature of the mind and how to find peace within, the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue fighting your thoughts, chasing after desires, or will you start witnessing your mind for what it truly is? Imagine how your life could change if you stopped letting your mind control you and instead embraced the peace that's already inside you. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, because that moment is now. What if you began today? What if you took just 5 minutes to sit in silence, observing your thoughts without getting caught up in them? What would happen if you started practicing self-inquiry every time you felt overwhelmed? The answers you seek are closer than you think, but it's up to you to take that first step. Are you ready to transform your life from the inside out? If you want to keep diving deeper into these powerful insights, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss out on more wisdom that could guide you on your journey to true freedom and peace. Start your journey today, because peace is just one moment of presence away.